My Jack 1-2, this ain't a bull tracker crew. This warehouse 15, but legends speak true. 3 rings on my fingers, gold medals gleam, but under this armor, life ain't always what it seemed. Yeah, we trained hard, pushed limits, reached the peak, but the pressure cooker boiled man, so weeks I couldn't speak. Sponsorships
to the warehouse 15. We were just cutting off Master Moreno, Coach Moreno. He was going to say something probably slightly inappropriate, which brings us to rule number 1. Sorry, not sorry. So if you're listening and we offend you, sorry, not sorry. How is everybody doing today? What's going on, Mr. TJ? Coach, what's going on?
What's up, sir? Chilling. Just got back from traveling this past weekend. I was in, don't butcher me, I think it's Queretaro. I always mess that word. Queretaro, Mexico. Queretaro, Mexico.
You sound like you're Asian. Sound like someone grabbed you like,
the letters are going to come in now. I was
there for the under 22 finals for the Pan Ams and the junior Pan Am championships and cadet Pan Am championships. So happy to be home, get a little rest, keep moving, keep training. So
can I ask one question though?
Yes, sir.
Why? I just noticed that there are certain people, like certain backgrounds, they always have velvet paintings of dogs or lions on their wall. Velvet paintings of dogs or lions. Yeah, it's not you.
I got the Virgin Maria.
Yeah, man. I see a lion over there, and there's
Batman.
Okay. Did you get that from Costco or was that at
dang.
That's a
Hey, dang. He must have missed me. I think episode 1 he said he liked it. I know. He told me before we got on air how much he liked it.
I do.
That's my
I do like
though.
it. I got to get one.
I don't think that go crazy.
Coach Moreno, what's going on?
I'm good. I got to show my shirt today, boy. What's up?
Nice.
What's up, man?
Man, my kids don't love
everything's
me.
good, man. I miss you guys. I traveled last weekend. Where was the heck last weekend? Jeez, I forgot. Where was it? I forgot where I was at last weekend. Jeez, can't think. Anyway.
Getting older.
I was in New York.
Jeez,
I couldn't. I was in New York. Yeah, I was upstate New York with my coaches, Tim Toko. I know you guys were in Mexico. I heard all about it. Watched a lot of matches, but yeah, I think we should get into it today, and I think we got a couple cool topics, so it'll be fun.
Well, that's why you couldn't remember. You were in upstate New York. That's not New York. New York City's New York.
I'm going to New York City next week, end of the month.
There you go. That's New York. Well, listen, I wanted to say thank you to. I got a nice letter from Mike Dillard from Century, and he said,
cool.
He wouldn't be raising prices even despite the tariff increases, and also James Kim from Muto. So I won't mention the other company, but I know you guys like that other company. They've already raised their pricings. I won't talk about Tusa. Did I say it out loud? But that's no surprise because there's no loyalty to that company.
You don't know if they raised their prices, man. Leave that man alone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I mention his Sung Kang? Did I mention his name? I apologize. We love all our sponsors, and once again, thank you to the Budo brothers for sending me a bunch of cool stuff. And TJ, don't worry, we're gonna be calling. We're checking with Target to see if they can get you some stuff.
Don't trip. If I get Target, I'm bigger than both of y'all. Target would be crazy.
I'll try. I think they have those. I think they have those lion paintings on sale. I'll see if I can get you.
Should I go get what one of my sponsors just got me? I don't want to do it. Because Coach Perez will get mad at.
What is it? What's your sponsor?
I'm not going to show you because you'll be hating on this, certain vendor, man. So I'll leave his stuff alone, man. He gave me some cool stuff.
You know what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting for that set of KP&P so that I can test it out. We just invested and bought the other one's Dado or whatever, so that my kids can practice the foot farting Taekwondo that everybody else is doing. So we invested in a bunch of those, some ridiculous amount of money, and now and then I've heard that better is KP&P, but it's hard to tell better because I haven't seen it. I don't use it, so I'm hoping that
it better. I think
that. Well, I'm hoping that the fairy godfathers or godmothers of KP&P.
Not getting into our stuff. This is just a random ass question. You got one store you can shop at.
Yeah.
For the rest of your
Forever?
life.
Me? Forever right now?
Not food, just one store. What is it?
Oh.
Pick your store.
Oh, like clothing? Or like everything? Oh, dude. It's still got to be Target or Walmart. It's got to be a department store that has everything.
That's a good one.
Has to be. Has to have everything.
Target, Walmart's pretty good. Actually, I was saying Dick's Sporting Goods. Because you can get clothes, you can get equipment, you can get fishing stuff.
Not really food, though.
No, I didn't say food. Food is different. Food is different. I'm just
Oh,
talking about one,
gotcha.
like just for your life, like everything you need. But Walmart and that, those are
So
obviously
it's
pretty
not
good too.
food. Maybe like what's that store like REI or whatever, like the outdoor stores.
Yeah,
All
but
that
like
stuff is
that you
good.
can't get. Like I guess because they don't have like cool like you can get like Nike stuff and I don't know. I don't know if they have that
I
stuff.
feel
Anyway,
it.
Well, I
random
spend
question.
most of my life wild and naked, so I just need food. So we've got these high-end
Food.
Andronicos or Piazzos and some places like that because I like to cook. And most times I cook, al natural. So both in my food and both in clothing. So I don't need REI. I don't need any
I don't want to eat
ropes.
none of your food
I'm not.
when you're cooking.
Yeah,
I'm not.
sure.
I'm not tying anybody up. You guys
TJ,
all mentioned.
feel me on that one.
Hold on a second. You guys both
Keep me
mentioned
swinging
stores
around.
where you can buy shovels, ropes, tape, and things that you could use to dispose of dead bodies. I have no interest in that. REI. I love to go to REI.
Okay.
You get what do you call it? Car binders.
You
You can get
you
rope.
cannot ask him a question. Do not give him a question. This is what happens. Now we're about to tie people up.
Okay, sorry. Back to
all right, we're back to. I heard there was a tournament, or
gosh.
there's a tournament coming up, or.
Oh yeah, no, I was just at it was the U22 finals and the junior and cadet Pan Am championships, and I was actually in the same venue last year. I'm gonna tell you, this is probably for me is the worst venue I've ever seen in my entire life.
Where was
terrible.
it? Where was it?
It's in Queretaro. Was that good? Queretaro.
Get a what?
Coach Mar, help!
Get a what? God bless
Anyways,
you.
it was there.
God bless you.
It was there.
Did you sneeze?
It was there.
Keta who?
It was there, and like
ketamine.
The whole thing. Like think about this, and maybe you'll see like, oh, this is old school good stuff or whatever. But like the holding area is outside in the heat under a tent, and it's like 90 degrees outside.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro.
And I'm talking about, let's say the seniors need to be tough and strong. This is for the cadets and juniors I'm talking about. Let's just start there for them. And at one point, these kids were sitting directly in the sun. And then finally, someone got smart and went and found a tent to put over them. But like,
there wasn't a tent at the beginning?
Not where they were, when they call you to the pre-staging. They were just sitting out in the sun for pre-staging. And then I started making my guys just go sit under the tent on the big tent until they went out because it's just stupid,
Yeah.
The bath. I'll say this. How about this? And it was better this year. They took the bleachers. There were no bleachers on the left side last year, and they added those bleachers, so it gave one more section of seating. So section, and on the left. But even still, man, just being outside all day. The at one point we had to stop in the middle of matches because the ambulance left to go take someone to the hospital or something. So they're stopping matches partway through. They were at that point where how they don't hold matches. That whole thing. But like my problem with that was then I get to a ring and I'm waiting 12 to 15 minutes for them to find the match paper to start my match. So now when I'm 15 minutes late and now I get stuck over here, now it's, the TD won't let us, It
sounds like an organizational problem, to be honest with you. I mean, the venue was bad outside. I mean, listen, I don't care if you're adults or juniors or cadets, you shouldn't be warming up outside in the sun. I mean, we've had some places where they've made some makeshift tents, and they've had heat or AC in there. And it's actually, it's not great, but they got mats on the floor. I mean, it is what it is, but outside like that's kind of rough in the sun.
Yeah,
that's kind of rough.
And everything was crazy. I mean, from the time we got there, the organizational packet that tells you where to go and where to be for all the events, you get there and it tells you to go to the hotel. No, go to the venue for the second day of registration. You get to the venue, then they tell you it's at the hotel, and you get back to the hotel, and they tell you, well, you got to wait till they get to the venue. So they have people taking Uber rides back and forth in like 25, 30-minute traffic trying to figure out where to register. How can coaches that have been doing this game for so long be asking each other where registration is?
That's crazy.
And literally can't find it. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. Then they had the cadets behind the juniors, and the juniors are supposed to know to walk to the front of the line to weigh in before the cadets are supposed to know to weigh in before the juniors. You're talking about kids. So I got to go out there and figure out what they're supposed to go. It was bad. It was overall bad. It was embarrassing. It talk about mockery. It's a little bit of a mockery of our sport. Like, they don't care, dude. They literally don't care. They didn't have no answers the whole time. Everyone's irritated. Everybody's hot. I commend all Taekwondo people in that situation, because I think we're the only sport that would actually put up with this shit. Like, it's stupid. It's just pure stupidity.
A couple of things I question. I mean, number one, I think if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, they had a Pumse tournament, under 22 tournament, a cadet championship, junior championship, a cadet open, and a junior open, all in the same time, basically.
Yeah, and even worse, like you talk about that from like taking the feeling of being special away from the event. You did it. Then you talk. I'm walking around with like, I wish I could find these damn things. I had 3 tags that I bought $75 a pop to coach in the same venue all weekend. And I don't think one person really looked at my badge and saw what it said, whether it said under 22 or Pan Ams or whatever, all that shit. Like it's absurd. It's absurd. It's absurd.
Yeah.
You know,
Seems like not customer friendly, and that's asking a lot from coaches. Like you said, you're there coaching. You already paid a coaching fee. Now you gotta pay for a different coach's fee because on Friday you coach under 22, and on Saturday you're going to coach cadets, and then Sunday you're going to coach in the junior open. That's just what changed.
Some of the coaches had more because they were doing that plus Pumse and the Pumse Open. So they're walking around with 5 different badges they paid for. That's silly, right?
What I heard that you fixed something something to the extent of when you won or lost, when you won a match, you had to go like all the way outside and go around.
Oh,
and then
my God!
Somehow you figured out that they could just.
No,
yeah, go ahead.
So on Friday, they were letting you come out the venue at the end and go to the right, and you went to the holding area and you were right there. It was like kind of a loop around to the holding area. Quick, easy, only thing that makes sense. For Saturday, for some reason, somebody decided that it would be bright to have the kids come out, go left with no shoes on, no nothing. They're coming off the ring, go left all the way around the building, back in the front where the spectators go, back through the first security gate, then all the way back to holding. And they had to go figure. I'm like, no. I forget who walked up to me and said they were doing it. I'm like, no, we got to figure this out because that makes no sense. Yeah. And I'm talking, it's like a 6-minute walk around, 5-minute walk if I'm exaggerating, but it's a huge loop, no shoes outside. And that place is not like the super cleanest. There's rocks everywhere. And it's just stupid. That is just dumb. And they had to go figure it out. I forget. One of the referees helped me, one of my guys. I can't remember his name right now, but he kind of like went and talked to him and told him it didn't make any sense. But he had too many little changes. They kept changing the way the gates went to get to the back. And you know how it is. So one person tells one person they're in charge, someone else tells they're in charge, and people just start switching stuff around. It's just silly.
I thought it was. I mean, we'll talk about the actual results, but like one more thing that I heard on, for example, on Sunday, the last day you were there, they did the open first. You talk about taking the special out of the way. They did the open first. They had all the actual championship people wait till 4:00 in the afternoon or something along those lines. And I'm like, that kind of sucks, Like,
yeah.
Why should the actual event be delayed? Right? They should be the first ones. I mean, let the open people come afterwards, right? They're secondary at this point. No offense, but that's the truth. That's crazy.
Yeah, but they and even for the random weigh-ins, they were late for the random weigh-ins. The random weigh-ins time was posted wrong. It was like some absurd amount of time for the random weigh-ins, and then they still didn't get there. They had kids come in at 7:30. Oh my God! Before I forget. That just what you just said. They changed it around in the middle of the night at 11:53 for that day on Sunday for the juniors. Everyone thought the Junior Pan Am Championships was going to go first, and then the Cadet Open. A message came out at 11:54 p.m. on Saturday night saying, "Oh, by the way, we're going to do the cadets first and the juniors at 4."
But why?
I have no idea. Someone decided that it would be like maybe they wanted to get out of there earlier, but they changed it at almost midnight on Saturday. I'm calling around to other coaches. People are calling me. I'm trying to figure out which group goes first because it depends on what time you got to be there. They got people.
Yeah.
You got guys having to cancel buses that they had for their teams to get over there just so they could get there at the right time to come back. And it's crazy at midnight. And then you message them and nobody answers.
Well, I mean, let's talk about a little bit about the under 22 event because I know this was, Master President, what it was there was a series of 4 events. Okay. And you had to go to 3 out of the 4 events to qualify. And then what they did is they took a point total for all those wins and losses and they ranked the top 8 people. Okay. And those 8 people get to go to the Junior Pan Am Games that they're having this year. And it's a multi-sport event. It's, all their different, disciplines. But Taekwondo is involved in that. And the winners of that junior, if they get gold medal at that event, they get to go to the actual Pan Am Championships in 2027. So it was a series that was done in Mexico, Peru, Cuba, and back in Mexico. Those were the 4. So this was the final one. And it's kind of, again, this is kind of crazy because I just told you about the top 8. But then they had designated Peru and Cuba. If you got first or second, you got a wild card to the Pan Am Championships next year. So there's an extra little bonus. And then after all that, and this single tournament, if you got top 8, you got a wild card to the Pan Am Championships next year on the senior level. So although there was qualifying for the Pan Am Games, there was this extra bonus that you could get to the Pan Am Championship. So theoretically, if I do my math correctly, you could have 2 from Peru, 2 from Cuba, and 8 from here, and then national teams. So let's just say hypothetically, you had the United States had 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and then you get 4 people in the Pan Am Championships next time. I don't know if that any countries will have that, but it was a little crazy. So, but I want to ask you, TJ, what did you think about the level of the under 22 at that event? Because I'm going to brag for a second, but I know that Brazil qualified every division for the Pan Am Games on both sides for the male and female. That was pretty good.
Honestly, I think the earlier ones came off to me as a little bit stronger. Like that first one we did in Queretaro, I think a lot of people showed up. And they kind of like diminished, like lower a little bit as you went across the board. But that's probably why they added that Pan Am Championship thing, and they go entice more people to show up and
exactly
make
right.
a little bit more money,
100%.
But I like watching under 22 for this region because it kind of gives you an insight to like, even for me, this one time I actually sat down and watched the cadet level and the junior level and the Pan Am region and like kind of had a taste of all three. And you look at the new developing seniors. You got to get to see like the trend of the countries and who's kind of building, who's growing, who's expanding, who's shrinking, what's changing. But overall, I think it was a good event from the showing of the athletes. You had some big names in there. I know you were going to talk about Asuma, like Enrique coming back and doing the 80 for the last one. I mean, those are not easy events to do when you're supposed to be the big dog in the room. We all know how the pressure is, but he handles it well. And it was nice seeing him fight this weekend and kind of be in some tough spots and work his way out of it. So it was cool. But yeah, overall, I'll let you go. But under 22 for me, I think this time was just, it was okay. It was okay. I think dealing with all the other stuff on the outside just kind of made it worse for me. But the level decent, still some decent 68 fights were decent.
I saw that.
Yeah, a lot of some of the 58 fights were decent. So you had your showings and you had your battles. So it was fun to watch.
I mean, I'm going to have to give like a couple teams credit. Like I looked at the Chilean team. You could tell they're building for the future. They got a good 58 boy. They got a good 68 boy. They got a couple good young ladies. I mean, you could see they don't have many people, but the ones they have are very quality. So I give them credit. Mexico was just, I would say, kind of average. I was really, shocked that we didn't see any Dominicans or anything like that, any high level. Obviously, Brazil, I mean, we're investing in a lot of these kids. We're actually taking 3 of them actually with us to Uzbekistan later on this month because we just feel like they're going to be the heir apparents in some divisions. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I thought it was a good level, but I would agree with you. I think the first series was like the best, and it just kind of slowly kind of diminished a little bit. And then, of course, the United States on the cadet and junior level won first overall. I mean, I think the cadets, this is kind of how it usually works. On the cadet level, I think we usually dominate, and then it kind of is a slow slide, to juniors, and then into seniors where we just become middle of the road. I was a little shocked. I'm not going to be, I think we have to be objective here. I was a little shocked on the junior side that the boys only got 1 gold medal, which is really surprising. I cannot remember a team.
Okay, go ahead. You finish. I was about to ask that question.
No, I just don't remember us not having 2, 3, 4 gold medals, and we didn't even get the one that won it is his name is Josh Alade. He's won 4 junior Pan Am. I think 2 juniors and 2 cadets. He's won 4 gold medals in a row. He's a big, strong 78 kilo guy. So we didn't even win any of these. The 50 kilos, 49 kilos, and we didn't. But those are some of the money divisions, right? Some of those kids are like badass little kids, and we didn't have too much luck, so that's a little scary if you ask me.
Yeah, I forgot about that too.
And I mean, to be honest with you, we got first. United States, I keep saying it. USA got first overall, but they also had about 11 or 12 more wild cards on the junior level. Matter of fact, like one girls that from Peak, she won a gold medal. She wasn't even with the national team. She got a wild card via the Canada Open, and she went there and she won a gold medal. So if you took that person off the national team, you got 3 women and 1 man. You got 4 gold medals. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's a little small for the junior side. Cadet side, yeah. I think the kids, both sides were, I hate to use the word dominant, but they were pretty strong. They won a lot. So
Yeah, I wonder what the actual stat on that is. It feels like, I don't know, like I said, this is the one time I actually got to sit down and watch him, like kind of focus and watch him all the way through. It's like you said, it seems like an underperformance to me. You know what I mean? It seems like, I don't remember at the time our juniors were a little bit stronger there. Talking about just from the guy side, you know? And we're
Yeah.
talking about we're talking, and again, maybe I'm wrong, maybe somewhere a little bit bigger, but we're talking 8 to 12 people divisions, 12, like
Oh, they were
16 people
small.
divisions. Yeah,
There's
we're not talking
nobody
like,
had 16.
yeah, we're not talking like deep divisions either, you know. So and there were some
Yeah,
kids that were rocking and rolling. Don't get me wrong. There were some good guys. I think I don't know his name. I think there was a 51. I think it's 51 junior kid that was pretty slick, and I think he came up short in the finals against I don't know what country. But he was pretty slick. We had some good people out there fighting. I just question. I know I had a couple people come up to me and ask me questions about the coaching staff, and obviously the question is, why am I not on the coaching staff? That was one of the parents asked me, and just kind of some like concerns about how their kid was the handle during the trip, or someone wasn't paying attention or something like that. And again, I don't here nor there, but I think you have to, at that level, we need to make it. I don't know. Some of these kids were fighting well, doing things well, and came up a little short. That's all I'm saying.
I think I will say for the cadet side, man, a coach, the Vias have a kid, Josh. That's a bad. I tell you, that's a bad little boy, man. That's a bad dude, man. I love that kid. And Josvani Perez out of Colorado has a good kid, Nathaniel, that won a gold medal too. And they're getting ready for Cadet World. I expect them to do well. But I'm going to go back to a conversation we had a long time ago. In Master Perez, you can correct me if I'm wrong. There's a lot of talk about how some of the top coaches should be at the bottom level, because they're and TJ, you talked about that when you were young, to see some of the top coaches there to give you that inspiration, to the guidance, to that belief. It kind of gave you a little bit more. And again, nothing against the staff, because I don't know them personally. I have no idea what they did or didn't do, but I'm talking about national teams, senior national team staff. I think they should be there in some capacity. I don't care if they're sitting in the stands like this and just take an inventory of how their kids go, how they act, how they fight, how they react. And those are the ones you want to look to invest in. Again, for the U22s, we had one of our national team coaches, Coach Erickson. He was there. He managed all the kids and the ones that were fighting for the U22s. And I think that's just the way you got to do it. You got to have some of those top level people with eyes in real time, because even we all know, you watch on video and on screen, you get a sense, but it's not the same as being there. It is not the same as being in the venue and feeling. So
yeah.
I think it's a
I'm not
mistake.
even, just so I'm clear I'm not even talking about the coaches per se. I'm just saying historically, on stat wise, we've done better than this historically at the junior, the Pan Am Championship level for our juniors, correct?
I'm a gold medal for sure.
Yeah.
So you have to.
I mean, they got.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
You have to understand that, like, certainly the listeners should understand that if you're going to develop a pipeline, in that pipeline there are many parts to it, but there are many important parts of it that are external to it, that are part of the infrastructure of it. So, and I can only go back to some of the events that I look at in another sport. And so in this particular sport, my son participates, which we've talked about before. They have 3 different vehicles for defining and understanding talent. And they have at least 2, maybe 3 different pipelines. So they have an Olympic development program, they have an MLS program, then they have the regular league programs. And at each of these events, there are eyes on kids. So when a kid gets to a certain level, they have eyes on those kids to see which kids are developing. They have a platform that's nationwide, that's a video platform that every single game that's played in this league is put on the platform. So if there's a game, the game is uploaded, and using AI technology, they identify the child by number and create a highlight reel for every individual player. So in addition to having the full game on, coaches now have access to individual players and their highlights. They then, twice a year, have a showcase event where every team in the country goes to this showcase event that's in this league, and they have random draws, and they compete at least 4 matches, and then they have a playoff and then a cup. And the people that get through the league get an opportunity to play in the playoffs, and the people that get through the showcase and make it through that get to the playoff. At the playoff, they have another one where it's just the playoff for the cup, and then they have another showcase. So at these events are 100 to 200 of the top coaches in the D1 programs in the United States. So there are 211 D1 schools for this particular sport. In addition to that, the D3s are there and the D2s and the professional teams. So there's at least guys with eyes on kids, because the funnel, there's 100% of the kids who play club soccer or MLS club soccer, academy soccer. 100% of those kids, from that 100%, only 1% get to D1. 1%. And the same for D3 and so on and so forth. But the quality of player that they get and when they identify them is what matters, because then all of a sudden you get these players being identified at 12, 13, 14, 15 for sure, 16, and then finally at 17 before they get to college. So you get very high-level players that are transitioning into these other higher leagues. And this is something that's not occurring certainly in Taekwondo in this country. And it's interesting because arguably 4% of the people in the country do martial arts, which is a large number, and probably 1% do Taekwondo. Unfortunately, in the pipeline for Taekwondo, USA Trash, Taekwondo, I get those mixed up. This particular pipeline, managed by one of the most unsuccessful athletes in the sport, doesn't do that. So there is no pipeline. There's no identification process. And the eyes-on people tend to be private coaches in private programs. So if you look at private programs in the United States, the most successful private program in the United States, and I don't say this because you guys are on it, is Peak. There hasn't been a program in the United States, including mine, which had a lot of success for a lot of years, that has regularly put people in the pipeline on the podium and on national teams and Olympic stages. So when you're looking at that sort of success, and I'm not saying it because Coach Moreno's here, why aren't you utilizing that talent? Well, we are. Other countries are. In the United States, even its program, like you just said, can't put people on a podium. So at the point where your podium performance is lacking and you can't put people on, and then the pipeline is broken. But at the lowest level, I agree with you. If you're going to design a great program, you got to have the best coaches at the lowest level, identifying talent, developing talent, the best, not the worst, the best. At the next level, go ahead.
No, but for me, I'm just saying, like, I think your description of a pipeline and athlete identification is awesome. I mean, it's great. And I'm talking, we already got the kids there. They're already there at the top. However they got there, they made the national team, they got a wild card. However they got there, they're there. My point is those top coaches, I mean, we're not really selecting them in the future, but we should at least have our eyes on them so that we can identify them, maybe invite them to camps, maybe give them other opportunities so that when they move up the age brackets, they're ready to do something. Because we talked about this last time with Mr. Lewis. We know that the age for the Olympics is 18 to 22, 23. Okay, so if we're not looking at these 14 and 15-year-olds, Coach Jennings, what are we doing? What are we doing? Just kind of hoping we're shaking it up and throwing them out and saying, we hope somebody will be good.
Also, they didn't spend $1 other than registration for those kids to go to this event. And the T-shirts and stuff they got them. They didn't pay for hotel. They didn't pay for flights. They only paid for registration, and like team kits or whatever you want to call them.
Well, how is Steve McNally and Jay Warwick supposed to get to Korea to eat kalbi?
No.
You got to save money for that trip.
I thought they had so much money.
No, but you got to save money for Jay and Steve to go drink soju with Cho. I mean, you got to let's get our priorities right. It's more important for Jay to go back to Korea so he can get away from the United States and his life, and McNally to get to Korea to drink soju with Cho. This is more important than athletic development, because podium performance doesn't matter when the United States doesn't care. And to be clear, the membership of USA Taekwondo doesn't care. It cares because it doesn't care because it wouldn't have the coaches it has, and it wouldn't allow the performance. It would fire everyone. So when we didn't have performance, let's be clear, we didn't have performance. We had a problem, and we got rid of people that didn't perform. We got rid of athletes that didn't perform. We got rid of coaches that didn't perform. We cleaned our own house. In this particular situation, the membership that stayed is drunk with power, and it stays because it doesn't have a choice, and they've bought into the dream. They have a better chance of getting struck by lightning twice or once than they have of one of their kids making a national team and hitting a podium. And they don't care because they've been bought. They've been sold that dream, and they've bought it. This is worse than the NBA dream. The NBA
Are they paying for anything for the World Championships? Do you know, TJ?
From what I heard, the answer is no.
Wow.
From what I heard, it's the same thing. Registration. That's it. From what I heard. And if I'm wrong, please someone get on and tell me I'm wrong. That's all I want. Just tell me I'm wrong. Tell me to get my facts straight or something like that. Because
you're gonna say something else, though. You were gonna say something else. No.
It's just it's a joke. I mean, even like, and I say even, but AAU refunds their guys their hotel. You got ATU sends them almost free flight, hotel, and everything. You got other organizations that aren't the national governing body fully funding things.
Yeah.
For development only, not even for winning, for development only. Like, think
and
about
not even
that.
on national teams. They're not even quote unquote national teams. They're just like doing it to help these kids get experience, and they're doing it.
And I got one question: what is a administrative fee? Why do I have to, when I register? I went to register for the American East Open, and it's $80. It is $80 for the thing, and then like a $5 administration fee. Like, who's administrating this? Why am I paying more money?
No, it's for I saw it too. For the event, it's $100. 100 is 80, and then there's an administration fee. Like,
I'm looking
50.
at the coaches thing. At the coaches thing.
Yeah, the coaches. Yeah, and then
I saw 80 and 5.
Oh, but for the athletes, it's the tournament, your division, and then that fee. So it's like 160 and then 5. Like, I don't just
what is an administrative fee?
I mean, that's for just they charge that in. But what is a division fee, TJ? I got to pay $100 to get to the event, and then $60 to pick my division. Just tell me it's $160.
Yeah, don't do that to me.
What is that?
That's silly because they want people picking multiple divisions maybe to pay. I don't know, but like, I'm sorry, I'm stuck on the administrative fee part. Don't they all?
Administrative fee is like just kind of like administrative.
Coach, that's what the people that are the credit card processing. Like the money they're getting charged, they're making everybody else pay for it, and they're taking $0 of those funds and giving it back to the junior cadet team. Yeah. Zero. No. So they're taking administrative fees and it's going nowhere. Like, something has to, like, it's silly. Yeah. It's silly.
Hey, I want to switch up. Me and you had a conversation. Sorry, man. I know we can get on this, but we had a conversation about something that a couple of weeks ago, and I thought it'd be fun to talk about for a little bit here today. Do you remember the conversation about?
I do. I mean, so in any sport. And you can think of literally any sport. In any sport, there is someone that comes in, and by themselves, they change the landscape of the sport, the technical paradigms of the sport. They change the way that the sport is performed, and they find a new way to do something that does one of two or three things. And sometimes it's an individual technique, but in most cases, it's an individual. The individual becomes an outlier, becomes a person that changes the sport forever. And you and I were talking about this in the sense of, I'm not talking about somebody who's good at the sport and uses the existing rules to be good at the sport. And we'll talk about a few of those. But I'm talking about somebody who comes into the sport, looks at the rules, and either consciously or subconsciously changes the way he views this or she views that sport, and changes the way the sport is executed, and makes an impact that stays on the sport forever. And in some cases, when they're gone, the sport remains the same, but they were unique in the sport. So I thought that was an interesting conversation.
We should go and see if, like, kind of individual, like each person pick one and then kind of recycle. Like, give me one, just pick one, then you pick one, I pick one, and then just keep going. Because I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'll
let you guys go first.
You want to go? I mean, I got a lot. This one's kind of a bad one, a boring one, but because I have other ones that are a little bit more fun to talk about. But I'll say one of the biggest sports changer in our history of our sport so far is Steven Lopez.
I was
Because
gonna say
Steven
that.
Lopez,
Yeah.
that's an easy one because Steven Lopez
Yeah.
had the leg check, and he literally before him and even after it was so dominant. He looked at how to stop Korea by putting his right leg forward and blocking their right leg with his leg check and kicking afterwards, that we now have rules that says you can't do that anymore. And we all agree on it, but that was part of the game. Leg checking was part of the, I mean, we hated it in practice, right? You know, if someone leg checked me in practice, I would try to freaking kill them because I'm like, bro, this is not the place. But in a match, a guy kicked in my stomach, I leg check that fool all day. I pick up my shipment and kick my shin. That's just what people did, back in that time. But Steven Lopez, along with his front leg, learning how to and he used it as a defensive tactic. That's what it was. It wasn't to hurt, it was a defensive tactic to shut people down. And if you look at the history of Steven Lopez, people didn't score on this dude. They didn't get a touch out of him. And not till later in his career. Later in his career, he took some shots. We can talk about that. But in his heyday, I'm talking 2000, 2004, 2000, that dude was hard to score on. He was so long with the front leg, such a good checking with it. Like, he might be one of the greatest all times of changing the way people looked at the sport, changing the way people played the sport for that era. So I'll use that one. I don't know. You guys can comment or give me a new one.
I'm gonna go in a different direction, only because that was that certainly was a game changer, and he as an athlete evolved a lot, and I have a lot of respect for what he did in the game. He understood the game, and he used his body type, his sport intelligence, sport IQ to win a lot of matches and not get scored on. And so that there's no denying that. And then he actually got pretty good at Taekwondo towards the mid part of his career, and then he stayed in the room too long. And which happens from time to time. But there is an athlete that from Korea that I always mention in this breath, and I'm going to take it in a slightly different direction. And he was called the Leaper. That was Jung Young Sam, and I mean, may he rest in peace because he passed away. But this cat, like, he understood what the rules were, but he had the physical attributes to be able to do things that other people simply couldn't do. He could do a round kick, turn in the air before he landed and do a back kick. He could leap up in the air, hang, and then put his foot. We were at the 1987 World Championships, and when he didn't make the team for whatever reason, he did a demonstration where he literally took one step and jumped over a 5-foot-some-inch guy's head and broke a board with a flying side kick. Both legs over it. One step. Not 2 steps. When he did it, I had to pause and think about what he did, and then saw it on review on videotape. It was unbelievable what he did, and he would do this in matches. He wouldn't just do it for demo. Go ahead.
So he didn't make the team. He went to the World Championships and did a demonstration?
He didn't make the team in 87. They had a different featherweight, who, by the way, got knocked out by Sweden. And then the Swedish coach came in and was running around so long that he got up and still managed to beat the Swedish kid somehow after being unconscious from an up ball. But Jung Young Sam in 87 didn't make the team and then went on to make the 88 Olympic team.
But I know that, but did he do a demonstration at that World Championship?
With the Kukiwon demonstration team, yeah.
You're a bad fool when you can beat people's ass and they do a demonstration.
Yeah.
Oh,
like
man.
he did, like imagine you or I, we don't make an Olympic team, we don't make a national team,
Hell no.
and then we're going to travel with the B team and go do a demonstration. I'm like, I'm good. I'll stay home. I'll wait for the next event. But this cat, I saw him fight so many times, and all you got to do is go watch him fight at the Olympics. This was a guy that transcended the rules. And to be honest, at a much higher level of skill than Steven Lopez, and almost any American. Well, I mean, we had a handful of guys that were technically
No, he was unique. No, you're right. He did. I remember jumping up and doing stuff in the air, and you're kind of
just unbelievable. How? And then more importantly, how do you fight a guy like that? How do you
Yeah,
fight one of these guys who can just fly through the air, doesn't care what you do, and just is going to
that's
do what he does?
he looked like he was playing like he was just trying to invent something to hit you with. But we have a couple of people now who do some crazy stuff. But like he was unique, he was special, and he was just different. He was definitely an
Listen,
outlier.
I'll give CJ as much as I give him garbage because he can't win. CJ, whatever his name is, he's going to get it.
Nicholas.
He'll get what's his name?
Nicholas.
CJ Nicholas, when he gets on the Olympic podium, where he should be,
Yeah, it's a
I'll give him
different.
my
That's
props.
I think all
But
the people we're going to probably talk
yeah,
about are they were unique and then they
yeah.
excelled. So I think
CJ
that's the difference.
apparently has the ability to do some interesting stuff, and he does stuff that's kind of
Right.
freakishly whatever. He doesn't have the sophistication and maturity yet to do it in a way that a Jung Myung Sum does. He just does it. I'll liken him to Hyun Lee, who was on the team with all of us. And Hyun was another guy who just could do a lot of stuff, not on the level of Jung Myung Sum, but he would just try ridiculous stuff. A guy who was more effective than him was James Viasana, our teammate. James, this cat, he could do it all. And he wasn't inventing stuff, but he was doing it
No.
with courage and flourish. And he was able to do it in a way where it was effective because as you're fighting him, like a Mark Lopez at the World Championships where they all won, Marky was doing stuff that you just shouldn't do, but he did it anyway. And he did it with confidence, and it worked because he's fighting guys, and they're like, he's not going to do a Notabun, then switch his feet and do Notabun to the other side. So, but anyway, TJ, you're up.
Oh, you got TJ.
For me, I would
Don't
have
say me. Don't say me. No, I'm here.
die line. No, for me, I would say I'm gonna kind of get trying in the middle of this like electronic era, kind of to switch over and all that stuff like that. For me, I would have to say, and I'll give you the reason why. It would be Dae-Hoon Lee in '68, and I say that because I think he fought in an era where all the flicky prevalent stuff was strong, all the weird stuff was strong, and he managed to still have a little, we use the word old school, but I mean a little bit more motion and movement, a little bit more solid shots, a little bit more like direct play shots that still were able to win. And I'm gonna say consistently, and that's big for me because when I think about like when I'm training my guys or how people are fighting, when we talk about some of the best people in the world, it's all those like undertones of body control, undertones of like shot selection, undertones of like being able to move their feet when they need to, undertones of understanding the length and the distance and power levels and all that stuff like that. So I would say for me in the electronic era right now, it would be, I think he changed it a little bit. I think this little switch we're starting to see where we're going back to a lot more back leg and a lot more solid shots. I'm going to say he made that visible for everyone to see that you can win that way still.
I think
and not have
I'm going to
do this
concur.
stuff.
I'm going to concur with that too, TJ, because I think he was the first one that took the old school cerebral kind of approach to how do I set things up? How do I trap? How do I score? Along
Yeah.
with understanding how the system worked versus, I mean, in that era, it was kick, and like whatever. And I heard you always say, whatever thing lands first, right? I think he was cerebral. He was technical, understood how the system worked. And he did not fight like everybody else.
I
He was
saw him
not
fight
using that front leg.
he fought one of his Korean teammates at the Grand Prix final, and I think where was that? Anyways, it was in the United Arab. Where was it? Where's the junior team about to go?
Oh, Dubai.
It's close to Dubai.
No,
Close to Dubai.
Fujairah,
Yeah, Dubai.
Fujairah.
Yes. Sorry. And I'm gonna tell you to see the level difference between the A team and the fucking quote unquote B team. He put up like 50 plus points on this kid. Like, I think this kid did something. He spun on him early and scored, and Dae-Hoon went on a furious, like, rant. I mean, he's scoring back kick after face shot after punch, knocking him out of the ring. And I'm like, that goes to show you, we always talk about the level of Korea being high. He's doing that to this guy that probably would get in everybody else's way and put a lot of points on them. He just blew him out of the water. So for me, I would say Dae-Hoon went just in the midst of the electronic era and it being so tall and long and linky stuff. I go with him.
Man, I'm gonna give somebody a crazy dude because, man, I got so many. I'm looking at. I'll let you guys talk. I'm gonna go with. I got Gabriel Mercedes, Chumu Yen, Hadi. I got Servet. I'm gonna go with Chumu Yen. No, Gabriel Mercedes. I'm gonna go Gabriel Mercedes, and I'll tell you why. Because he came from an island that's about that big, and prior to him had no Olympic success. Maybe a tough fighter here or there. but he was doing things. That dude is the one that invented the twist kick in Taekwondo. And he hit people with a skipping, like we would do fast kick, a skipping twist kick, so loud, so clean, and referees wouldn't push the buttons because they had never seen it before. I coached against him when he did that thing to someone I was coaching like 3 times. I'm like, yo, like, but it was so wild. And again, adding in the spinning and the dynamic of changing directions, he was truly a gem. He was unique, and he reminded me of a boxer from Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic. Like he not only had the change techniques, he not only had the athleticism, but he had the will to fight. Like he looked like fighting was personal to him, and all along that it looked personal, he looked like he was having fun, like he was smiling. He's pointing at people in the stands. He was a showman. Like I don't think I've ever seen anybody in the sport. Again, different techniques, different style, rough, but athletic and having fun at the same time. He was he was just super, super unique to me and just a monster. I think he paved the way for all of Dominican Republic, and they've had pretty good success. They're a little bit down right now, but after him, they have some pretty good guys. So
yeah.
people
Well, you
mentioned
Servette, and I'm going to let you go back to Servette, but I'm going to pick somebody from the United States. I'm going to pick Arlene Lemus, and the reason I'm going to pick Arlene is Arlene changed the landscape of the game for everyone, and you too, Juan. I mean, you guys at that era were doing things that shouldn't have been able to been done against seasoned, knowledgeable Taekwondo players who were used to dealing with cut kicks and push kicks and face whatever kicks. And Arlene goes in that same room with you and, to be honest, Park Bung-Kwan. Because Park Bung-Kwan in 85, when he was 16 years old at the World Championships, was side kicking guys in the face, lifting his leg up, and he was doing Arlene before Arlene was doing Arlene, right? Like people would look at the foot and it was up there, and then they would be kicked in the face. I mean, good fighters, so like and he fought with so much confidence and aplomb. He wasn't doing anything creative and new, but he was doing it really well. Again, and to be honest, when you shouldn't have been able to do it. In other words, if you lifted your leg up and did that kind of face kick, you would get underkicked, pada chugging underneath it all the time. But apparently, I trained with him at Chede for a lot of years, and we became friends over the years. When he came here, I never got hit with that, but then again, I never tried to underkick it. So I don't know.
Let me ask you, though, I agree with you about Arlene. So how would you assess her being like freakishly unique and changing it, everything?
Technically, she changed that. She didn't, and that's a one and done. So she came in, she changed the landscape, got an Olympic gold medal, and then the division didn't change. So it didn't have an impact on the division. It wasn't like people went out and tried to be Arlene. So in that sense, she was a Jung Myung Sum, right? Like Jung Myung Sum, what he did, nobody else came in and tried to do it. Maybe arguably Gabriel, whatever his name is, and maybe he did. But Arlene's thing was unique. She didn't change the game, and the only thing I can give you is like I was always fighting tall guys, right? And you guys know this about me. So I would put my hand down on the floor when I would back hook kick sometimes because I was fighting.
I'm John.
Yeah.
John.
Oh, no, now it is.
5 off the board.
That's the Perez rule. They made that rule for me because I was putting my hand down on the floor and knocking guys out. And then finally they got to a point, okay, your hand touched the floor, it's a kamjang, right? And so Arlene changed the game for herself. Steven Lopez changed the game for the game. They made what he did illegal. They made what I did illegal. They made what certain people did illegal when they don't understand it. And I'm not to put myself in the category of any of those guys. But, I mean, I'll give you a guy whose speed changed the game for that division, and that's Jimmy Kim. So you take a Jimmy Kim who was good at Taekwondo, but he wasn't like, it wasn't like all all of his kicks were perfect or amazing. He was just so god awful fast and powerful that people didn't see that. You didn't understand it. So he would do things that a heavyweight shouldn't be able to do, just basic techniques, and hit people. And he changed the game where people started to change the kind of heavyweights they were looking for, including Korea. Right?
Korea did.
Yeah.
Korea did.
Korea changed the way they developed heavyweights.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna be like, I mean, I love Jimmy, and again, he's one of our best friends and everything. But I mean, I think that I don't think that heavyweight changed for good until like now. I think now you're starting to see some pretty athletic. You're seeing a lot of middleweights fighting heavyweights, and they're doing extremely well because they're big enough, but they're agile. I think Korea did that to beat Jimmy, but I don't think many other countries did that. There was still a bunch of kind of heavy, slower guys other than Korea. Koreans got smaller, and they were trying to do some things to beat. The good thing for everybody, Jimmy just said, deuces, I'm out.
Yeah.
He got his gold medal, and he said, none of you guys are going to see me ever again. And so, we never really know. I always wished Jimmy would have fought another cycle, because I think we would have seen his greatness even like the highest level.
He hadn't peaked. Jimmy hadn't peaked, and he knew that, but he was smart. And the advice I always give, and I gave this advice to a number of guys who were winning. I said, okay, there's nothing that another Olympic gold medal is going to do for you. So think about your transition and retire. Don't stay on too long, because you need to do other stuff. And, and that depends on the athlete. You can't really talk to athletes about that kind of thing. But with Jimmy's dad and his family were very, may they both rest in peace, were very set on his plan for what he needed to do, why he was doing it. And it's great to have an Olympic gold medal. It's great to have any Olympic medal, but you don't need two. You don't need three. And I know, Juan, you have two and stuff like that, but you got to fight till your heart tells you don't want to fight anymore. And you got to do what you have to do and get on with your life. And there's so many athletes that don't transition well. They don't transition from their fighting days to the next stage of their life. And whenever I talk to athletes, I kind of remind them of that.
You ever still miss it?
Me? I was always a transition kind of person. Even when I stopped, the only thing I wish and I don't want to even say that because I had made a decision. After 92, I should have fought one more year, 93 at the World Championships in Madison Square Garden. Because it's my city, it's New York, and I probably would have won. But I had made a promise to my student and my athlete that I would retire and he would go. And Peter Bardatos was that student. And I made that promise to Sean Burke. Both of them were training with me, and I said I would retire, and it was their time. And so I went on to coach and get on with law school and other stuff. And it was the best decision I made, because Sifu Vizio had said to me, why do you want to fight? He said, you already won. He said, you won't have the same intensity, you won't have the same fire. But more importantly, who's going to care? You win a world championships, who cares? The Olympics, I care, but the Olympics is a different thing. You guys know, because you're Olympians. You can tell people about the world championship. They don't care. They don't care about the Pan Am Games. They don't care about any of that. We care in our sport. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the most important stage you'll be on is the Olympic stage, and that's what people. There's a reason. There's a reason why it matters more than anything else. But athletes' transitions are tough for most athletes. And, a dear friend of ours, he made a decision not to compete any longer because of his knees. And he transitioned into other things and became a professor, a double professor. He was 87 Pan Am gold medalist, most likely would have medaled at the Olympic Games, and was the one guy from the United States that could have given Park Bung-kwan a run for his money. And that's Dr. Kapner, right? So he understood the game. He was a great fighter. He was tall, long, and straight, but he had knee challenges, and then were political challenges, because back then the Koreans were so corrupt. They were corrupt beyond belief, to the point where 88, it affected the 88 team, and it probably affected the 92 team if you let it. So he probably made a great decision, which is a tough thing for people to hear. But
who you got, TJ?
Yeah.
Let's get another one.
Another one for me. Oof, you're up.
Come
I think he
on.
just. I don't got nothing on my head right now. I got lost in his story. I'm listening.
Oh, sorry.
Going back to 1923.
Oh my
How
God.
about Hadi?
Hadi, you gotta give Hadi his props, because Hadi won a bunch of stuff. He mastered the timing, and you got to put Victor Estrada in there too.
How did he change the game? We're talking about changing the game. How did he change?
Hadi changed the game. Victor Estrada too. They both understood distance for that division, and they made people simple technique.
They changed the game for them or for everybody?
No. Wait. Let me take a shot. No, I don't think Victor did. Victor was good at Taekwondo, and he won a lot of stuff. I don't think he changed anything. I think he was just a good.
No, he's a good fighter.
He was a good winner.
Good fighter.
Here's why Hadi changed the game, because again, think about the era. People were doing Hadi. I'll never forget it. The first time I saw him really in life was 1999 World Championships. His first match of the day, he fought the Egyptian world champion and beat him like 12-0. It was ridiculous. I never seen anything like it. He was the first person to say, you know what? You move, I'm kicking out motion, and then the second time you do it, you move, I'm going to kick and double. Remember back in those times in 99, people moved, they just boom, kick to the butt. Boom, boom, kick. Like, he didn't give up space. He didn't look, and then he would just literally encroach on you. That came kicking on motion. That turned kicking on motion to a thing. Like everybody, matter of fact, if you didn't kick on motion, you'd get trapped.
Yeah,
you were not good. And you had to be brutal to do that, because you might kick a shin, a knee, an elbow, and all the Iranians adapted that. And then the Egyptians did, and then the Turkish did, and then the Koreans did. It literally changed the game. So, and again, before him, Iran was not a powerhouse. I fought Iran at a World Cup, and it was like, I didn't even worry about it. Like, it was nothing. Now, after 98, 99, that's when you started seeing everybody, excel. B-Box of the world, blah, 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 blah. And I think Hadi was, the dude, I know this transcends outside the sport. He's the president of their federation.
Oh, no, he's a force. He's a force. But, we didn't mention his name, and it's got to be mentioned in the same breath, because, the greatest Taekwondo competitor ever, bar none, eclipses everyone, is Jungkook Young. And so Jungkook Young was a game changer, not for any individual technique, but for his understanding of the game as a whole. He was a guy that had everything on both sides, understood how it fit, and understood strategically how to win any match anywhere. Yeah. And he, like, in 87, he goes in, he's fighting this kid, I can't remember where it's from, and he's losing. First round, 1-0, second round, 2-0. He's going into the third round, either 2-0 or 3-0. Hasn't scored a point. Doesn't sweat it. Goes in and, like, pop, 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 and just takes it back. So this guy, to be clear, he was undefeated internationally for a period of 8 to 10 years. And so he is a smart player. I'm not sure that he could translate that to others in the sense of coaching, which is another question. Does a great athlete that becomes a good coach? But you can't have a conversation about guys who transcended the game, because he changed that division. He changed that division forever, for a very, very long time, when it was tough to do. And he's not that, and this gives me back to probably the most important point. Historically, the best, most transformative, unique team ever was the 88 Korean national team. That team was unique, maybe not in your Division One, but you got to think about they had Myung Chan, they had Jung Myung Sum, they had Bong Kwan, they had
we got to sit down and watch some of these matches.
You got to watch. First of all, if you watch it, then you'll go back and learn Taekwondo.
How many?
They 7 gold medals. 7.
Yeah.
7. You'll go back and learn Taekwondo. In other words, what you're doing now is foot farting. Go back and watch that if you want to see Taekwondo. So, and I challenge people to do this. I challenge anyone to do this. Watch the 88 Watch
No, some of
92.
those matches.
Watch
Some of those
2000.
matches
Hold
were
on.
slow, no?
Watch 88,
No, but some of those matches were slow,
88,
no?
92, 2000, 2004, 2008, and then turn off your TV.
No, 2012, because my generation probably was the best generation across the board. We fought, we kicked, we went forward, we had motion
Hold on a
movement, we had
second.
steps,
What?
we had power,
What?
we had speed.
What?
You
What?
heard what I said.
What?
You heard what I said. That's what I believe, 100%. He heard me.
Am I?
No, you were the hollow.
Should I go get
sorry.
Juan? Do you have your medal anywhere?
You know what I said. It doesn't matter. It's
Where's
irrelevant.
Should I
It's
get my
irrelevant.
medals?
It's irrelevant. It's
All
irrelevant.
right. I'll give you
I
Chuck
think we had a
John. I
good
think he's
generation.
great. Let me ask. I do too. I do. Honestly, I concur because you guys were kind of on the verge of that
2012.
brand new.
Who was on that team?
No, not teams. He's just talking about division. He's just about fighters, right?
Generation?
You're not talking about teams.
Oh,
There were some good fighters in that time.
Who?
I mean, think about Servette was there.
Oh
TJ
no,
was
he's
there.
talking about. I thought he was talking about the states, United States. You're talking about.
No.
Oh, in the world. No. You're better fighters worldwide. Definitely. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
no, let me
Worldwide,
ask you something real
2012.
I was on the USA team, so I was pretty good. I was okay.
You're okay.
I did my thing. I did my thing.
I got you.
Hey,
I got you for a silver or
I fought-
bronze. I got you silver.
I
bronze.
fought in a pretty. If I gotta say my biggest flex was probably being as like consistent as I was in our era of 60s, 68s, and
I
watched.
I was head of team and I was a bunch of stuff on those times, and I watched you fight, and you had some great fights, and you fought some great fighters. So I mean,
Let me ask you.
your hands were full.
Do you think I mean, I don't know if you probably don't know her too well, Young, but do you think Pani Pak is a game changer, or is she just a freak?
She's just a freak.
I agree. She's amazing. I love her. I love her. But
I'm gonna touch on the Servette thing since you brought it up. I think what made him special and kind of, I think at that point, even for me, I'm gonna talk about me myself. I think everyone else was trying to figure the electronics out and deal with the taller guys because me and him were comparable in height. He just said, "I don't care." He was going to spin. He was going to go forward. He was going to go forward. He was going to go forward until he scored. And if he got scored in between, he goes, I'm going to go forward again. And that was just, I think that was what made him tough in that division because you couldn't really control him with your front leg if you were long. He was going to keep going forward and spinning and changing. I think me and him had some unique fights, but he was definitely one of the ones I know that it was going to be a fight. We were going to exchange. We were going to kick. So I think that's what made him special in that time with the electronics. So
well, you got to get. I mean, what's funny is the person's name who hasn't come up in this conversation is Patrice Remarque, and you could love or hate Patrice, but Patrice, you want to talk about a guy who would leg check or a guy that would kick you. This is a guy that people would leg check him and he'd break their leg. Like Patrice, his body just couldn't keep up with what he was doing. Like he was a smart fighter. He was also a good fighter, and I don't know that he changed that division or changed the game because he was
a warrior.
He was just a cat that came in and just could do and absorb and deliver more punishment. I mean, the best story, which is actually true because I was in the room, 1985 national championships when they were still letting foreigners compete in that division. They went up to the draw board because they would post it, and I watched 3 or 4 people leave the gym. Just leave the gym. Not even get dressed to fight. They saw that they had Patrice. He won the French national championship undefeated without fighting. They didn't even enter to fight. That's how dominant he was as a welterweight. So, you can't deny that reality of what he did with the sport.
He was not
100%. Yeah,
TJ, let me ask you, TJ. Like, do you think that anybody? Not that I mean, is anybody what's the word? Transformative.
Yeah.
Like transformative in our sport in our era right now. I mean, there's some good people. Like for me, Rashatov is head and shoulders above everybody else in 68. If he's going up, but is anybody? The only one I could think of, and I can't. Well, I mean, we mentioned CJ because he's doing something different.
He could, but to be honest, he's coached poorly. He has the world's worst coaches. He doesn't listen. He doesn't have everybody to teach him. He doesn't have anybody that's ever won anything. He's got, you know, bangers and mash trying to coach. You got bangers and mash trying to coach a Rolls Royce. We're talking about a kid who's a potential Rolls Royce or Bentley, and you got a Toyota Hyundai mechanic.
100%.
You do. You got. Let me be frank. The current coaching staff of USA Taekwondo are Hyundai mechanics. I'm not bringing bringing my Audi to them. I don't think I can't listen. We didn't have great coaches necessarily, but they didn't do any damage, right? We just did our thing. We didn't need them. This is a kid if coached properly, and I can give you some other guys. I can give you Clay Barber, right? Clay Barber with the right coach would have beat everybody in the world. James Villasana, a couple more years, you know. We're better.
Hey, but just I don't know. Before we get too far, I don't know when you were talking about the teams in the U.S. I think that 2012 Olympic team was pretty unique, having Steven and Diana, 2 returning Olympic medalists on the team, plus 2 people that hadn't medaled. That's a unique mix. I think that's pretty like kind of I don't know.
On paper, I think on paper it was a good team, and it was funny because on paper you and Paige were the lower ones, and they were higher. But when you look at it now, it's opposite. If you look at, again, based on youth, based on energy, like they were the experienced ones. And you're right, Young. You said, like, you know, Sifu Vizio told you wouldn't have the same intensity.
Yep.
Steven was not the same guy that he was. Diana was not the same that they were in when they won their world championship.
Nope.
No offense, because they were good for a long time. I'm just saying it was a unique team, but on paper they were the top 2 and you guys were the bottom 2.
Yeah, of course,
but if you look at it now, it's easy. But if you just think logically, it was the opposite. You guys were the young guns. You guys were the speed and the experience and the I'm gonna go get it. I mean, that's for me an objective, kind of look at that. But I was gonna say Simone. What do you about Simone from So this guy, Young, he's an Italian guy. He won the Olympic gold medal. Is he gonna go or silver in
I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was a gold medal.
Anyway,
I don't know.
he's the one that he's this giant 6'6". What is he? 6'7"? How tall? He's giant, but he basically is the guy. He didn't invent it, but he's the one that made it nasty. The axe kick when it gets caught up, kick with the other leg. And this dude KOs, like everyone knows it's coming, and this dude drops people like left and right. Now he went up to middleweight now because he's so big. So we're gonna see if he's gonna stay there or come down or what he's gonna do. But I'm just trying to think of somebody that's. I'm not talking about
world
good.
championships in '74.
Yeah,
second world title in -80 in Baku. Yeah, he went off for a while.
Yeah,
but and then everything else.
But anyway, I was just saying he's the only one that can say that it's like kind of like different, kind of special, not good. Obviously, there's some good ones, but I don't know.
I think you talk about him. You gotta talk about Cisse too. You gotta talk about Cisse before even him switching to heavyweight kind of changed the game a lot in heavyweight.
That's
you know what I mean? Changed the speed a lot, changed the dynamics a lot.
Well, you know,
even for welterweight. Too,
yeah, but you know who we haven't mentioned and is worth a mention is Pasquale as a heavy. Pasquale as a heavy was like in that transformative part where he was doing double kicks, like he was kicking guys, double kick to the face, knocking guys out. And he was a tough guy. Nice guy, too.
That was Modibo too. Modibo Kita.
Yeah.
He won 2 world championships for Mali.
Yeah.
I think Mali. Yeah. Like same thing. He would double, triple, not about actually people in the face as a heavyweight.
Yeah.
Full
That's
split.
Crazy, man.
Full split.
That's cool. That's so cool. Like, talk about like people, again, shows you how the world just changes. Like nobody even mentions Modibo anymore. But that was a bad mofo. Like not only was
he was gross.
He was big, he was strong, he was a freak.
Fast,
but
flexible.
Cisse's a good one, man, because I give Cisse credit because he came out and I remember when that boy would fight people and I don't want to use my analogy, but he would just tear people up. And then he went down. Remember in the Rio Olympics, he went Rio is when he won.
Rio he won, yeah.
The next Olympics he went down. And just you thought his career was over, and he went up to heavyweight, and he just resurrected it. He just took off like a jet. Yeah, he was pretty impressive.
Well, I like this conversation. I think what we should do is, I know we have a lot of listeners, so we're gonna I'm going to give you an email if you guys are listening this long because we've been on for a minute or two. Send your email best of to either Coach Moreno, myself, or and I'll post it on the website. Mine is easy to remember. Gold92, GOLD 92, like the year 92 at AOL.com. I got it way back when. And so send
AOL.
us AOL, baby. By the way, I'm the guy still paying for it. I'm the only guy in the world still pay. I think I still get a bill from AOL. I think they got, I'm like that guy in Office Space they put downstairs with the red stapler, man. Like, I ain't moving. But yeah, I still got AOL. And so, and the reason I have it is because I got it way back when, and you probably couldn't get it now. And so it's an obnoxious email for an obnoxious guy. But like I said, sorry, not sorry. But send us your comments about the show, but more importantly, send us your best stuff. I like this idea because we forget. It's been, for some of us who are older than some of you, it's been a while, been a minute. So we're talking about fighters you've never heard of and fighting styles you maybe not know. And I'm going to make a promise to you too. I am actually going to try to watch whatever the next big Taekwondo event is. And then I will try to, and not what, and I'll drink a lot of coffee. I'll drink a lot of coffee. I'm not going to Charlotte, and I think the Nationals.
I think it's going to be good.
What's in Charlotte? What's in Charlotte?
No excitement. Boring.
Nobody goes to Charlotte. Yeah, people that live in Charlotte don't go to Charlotte.
But that's the next big one, no? What else are we excited about?
But if you think of it, yeah, I'm just gonna. The more and more I look at the selection procedures, I think. Okay, whoever qualifies to there will be good in the Grand Prix. But I think you're just going to get a bunch of. I don't think you're going to get a lot of good people. You know why?
When is it?
It's in June.
All right, I'll look at the restaurant list, and I'll see if there are any good restaurants in Charlotte. What do you get there? Gumbo and crayfish. What else do you get? You get cornbread.
That's Louisiana, man.
What do you get?
You're not even in the right place.
What do you get in Charlotte? What's the big food there?
Whatever you want.
Humbuckers. What do you get? Humdingers.
What is humbuckers?
I have no idea.
Actually, a lot of cool restaurants downtown. The downtown area here is not the worst with restaurants and stuff. We got some kind of like mixes of Korean style food when you have your traditional restaurants. You got your fusion places.
This is in Charlotte.
Yeah, the stadium area is not bad. You go down and you can watch some soccer.
One of my son's teammates just got recruited by the Charlotte team, so I'd love to go see him play. His dad's a good friend, and
TJ's got season tickets.
I had season tickets.
Hold on a second. Things to do in Charlotte. Hold on a second. I'm asking Siri. The 15 things to do in Charlotte. What? Nothing? What? It says nothing. Must do experiences. Historical golf cart tour. What? Billy Graham Library, NASCAR Hall of Fame, Carowinds, Discovery Place.
It's not a golf here.
No. Hendricks Motor. What?
Hendricks, man.
The Bank of America. What? Mint Museum. What? Okay. Hold on a second. Let me try this for things to do in San Francisco. And the list keeps going. Oh, nice. Yeah, all right. Let me see. Plane ticket to Charlotte, plane ticket to New York. Yeah, okay. Anyway.
I'll see you shortly.
All right, boys. It's been a great day, as always, and this has been the Warehouse 15. And as we said, if we said something, particularly, I know TJ's always saying something offensive. Sorry, not sorry. And we are out.
Peace.
Yeah, I think that